All right, welcome back to the channel. So Yordenis Ugas fires shots at Jaron Ennis and tells him who is Jaron Ennis' fault, what has he done, and all the other stuff that Yordenis Ugas says. And Yordenis Ugas says we need to see him fight some names, and then maybe he might be irrelevant. I'm gonna break it down for y'all. Let's talk about it in this video. King Jr. got another video for y'all. Please sure that you like and subscribe to the channel to get all your latest boxing news. I'm gonna try to keep the boxing news rolling for y'all. With that being said, Yordenis Ugas fire some shots at Jaron Ennis, ask about Jaron Ennis, about who has he fought, what has he done. He also stated that who is this next guy that Jaron Ennis is fighting within Custio Clayton. He said no slight to this guy, but he didn't even know who Custio Clayton is. Well, first of all, here my take on the whole situation. I just think that Yordenis Ugas is right in some of a way, but he just didn't have to say that nobody knows who Jaron Ennis is, and we need to stop giving praise and overrated this guy. And Jaron Ennis, is an upcoming rising prospect. I'm still saying prospect. I had a guy in the comment section saying that he's not a prospect and whatever. I'm still calling him a prospect because Jaron Ennis has not fought the names that he should be fighting because nobody seems to want to fight him. It's not his fault that he hasn't fought anybody. It's just the fact that the dude can't get fights because he's very talented. And Spence Jr. was in the same scenario, but nobody wants to talk about when Spence Jr. was early on in his career, and people saying he's fighting tomato cans. And what really got Spence to fight the best of the best is when Lamont Peterson stepped up and say, Spence, I'll fight this guy. It don't matter. So that's how Jaron Ennis is looked at, because Jaron Ennis is going to have his big break as well. And he needs some names. He fought two former world champions within Sergey Lipinets and Thomas Delorme, made a few opponents that I believe Terrence Crawford has fought in. And Custio Clayton as well is a decent opponent. Custio Clayton has fought what's his name, Sergey Lipinets. He actually got a draw with Sergey Lipinets, and he's a pretty decent fighter. He's got some boxing skills, but a lot of people doesn't know who really Custio Clayton is. I know Custio Clayton a little bit. I'm not too familiar with the guy, but I just know that the guy had beat Sergey Lipinets. With that being said, basically, Yordenis Ugas is saying that Jaron Ennis is overrated. And I don't think Jaron Ennis is overrated. I think Jaron Ennis is ready for the competition. I just want to see him fight a couple more B+ fighters. Custio Clayton is going to be a big step up to me, in my opinion, because he has no losses. He only has one draw, and it's not going to push Jaron Ennis to the test. It's not going to push him beyond his limits. It's just going to see where Jaron Ennis stand at with B-level competition. And, Yordenis Ugas needs to stop worrying about other fighters at the moment, because he needs to focus on Spence Jr. I gave Yordenis Ugas his praise about how he could potentially win and beat Spence Jr. And he talks about how that he can beat southpaws easily. We heard from Joel Casamayor, a great Cuban fighter, and he tells Yordenis Ugas he'll beat southpaws easy. But whoever was in my comic section, shout out to you. In my last video, somebody said that Shakur was a southpaw. I think he is a southpaw. And Shakur actually sparred with Yordenis Ugas and pieced Yordenis Ugas up in sparring. I was surprised. If y'all haven't seen that sparring session between Yordenis Ugas and Shakur Stevenson, Shakur was giving it to him. And it's the levels of southpaws that Yordenis Ugas has had. Yordenis Ugas has fought in B-, B+ southpaws. And he has not fought a southpaw like Spence Jr. Spence Jr. is a different breed, right? Spence Jr. is a fully revamped Spence Jr. He has rededicated himself back to the sport of boxing. We know Spence Jr. At the time, he was doing clubbing and partying. That wasn't the Spence Jr. that was focused. That Spence Jr. was kind of trying to go the AB route. But when that car accident, well, yeah, I could say AB route, but not to a high dramatic standard. But when that car accident happened, Spence Jr. realized, man, I got to get myself together, or this could be it for me. and he did. And he revamped himself. He beat Danny Garcia right off the gate. Danny Garcia was looked at one of the best welterweights, so he fought and beat Danny Garcia by the decision. Errol Spence stated that he was only 70% of himself. And according to Marvis Jarvis, Errol Spence is 100+% of himself. And this is going to be very bad for Yordenis Ugas because this is a different breed of southpaw. I actually, personally, when this fight happened, I actually have Yordenis Ugas winning the first 3 to 4 rounds because these are going to be fill-out rounds to see how how they're going to accumulate to both each other's style. I think Yordenis Ugas is going to try to control the distance. I think Errol Spence is going to take that distance away from Yordenis Ugas and work his way on the inside to get into the body. But with that being said, Yordenis Ugas is somewhat right. Jaron Ennis hasn't fought anybody. He needs to start fighting former title contenders, which he has fought in 2 so far. And I just think that if Yordenis Ugas, since you says that basically Jaron Ennis is overrated, well, if the winner or the loser, well, basically it's an eliminator fight. So whoever wins this fight basically is the mandatory to fight Errol Spence Jr. or Yordenis Ugas. But I feel like if you lose, you should be trying to call out Yordenis Ugas. Since Yordenis Ugas, you have all this skill, you should be trying to want to get a fight with Boots next or whatever. Not if you lose to redeem yourself and come back. Now, when it comes to skill level between Yordenis Ugas and Boots, there ain't no doubt that Boots will beat Yordenis Ugas. Boots is bigger. Boots has a longer arm reach. Well, they're the same size, basically 5'9" and 5'10". It's no different. But Boots, I feel like he is acclimated to the welterweight. I feel like he switched from orthodox to southpaw beautifully. Boots sets up his combinations great. He rolls with the punches. His defense is A1+, and he's looking to get you out of there. And I wouldn't be talking trash about this young fighter because Boots Ennis is a guy that he's just trying to get his bread just like everybody else. He's trying to get to the top of everybody else, just like Errol Spence Jr. a long time ago. Nobody wanted to see him to fight Errol Spence Jr. A long time ago, and Errol Spence just couldn't get a fight, just like Jaron Ennis, until that guy, Lamont Peterson, gave Errol Spence Jr. a shot to give him his basically his name out there. And shout out to Lamont Peterson. Lamont Peterson wasn't the greatest fighters, great fighters, but he was a very good and experienced and very tough fighter. And I appreciate Lamont Peterson for stepping up to the plate and fighting Errol Spence Jr. and giving him that opportunity. And it seems to me in this day era of boxing that these guys is not going to give this young man his opportunity. Virgil Ortiz said he wants to wait 4 years until he wants to fight Jaron Ennis. What a coward. That is some coward junk. That is the most cowardly man junk I ever heard. 4 years, Virgil Ortiz? 4 years. So you're telling me you're not wanting to fight a young Jaron Ennis right now? I would want to try to fight Jaron Ennis now before he gets seasoned. Once Jaron Ennis get 2 more years acclimated to the game, I guarantee it nobody's beating this young cat. Because Jaron Ennis is going to make a statement out of these guys. Jaron Ennis is like Canelo Alvarez. He's eat, sleep, and breathe boxing. He's dedicated to the sport of boxing. And Jaron Ennis is not a millionaire, but he is going to be in the mindset that Canelo Alvarez had. He wants to just box and prove all these haters wrong. And I feel like Jaron Ennis is going to get his shot. We can say Jaron Ennis hasn't fought no competition. I get that. But it's not his fault that these guys just don't want to fight him. And I believe maybe down the future, I think Errol Spence might be that guy to give Jaron Ennis a chance. I don't think Terrence Crawford's going to give him a chance. I definitely sure Yordenis Ugas ain't going to give him a chance. And hell no to Sean Porter because he's retired. Sean Porter stated that he would never fight Jaron Ennis, but if he was forced to, he would. But he's not going to fight Jaron Ennis. So Danny Garcia refused to spar with Jaron Ennis. Mikey Garcia says absolutely not. And it looks like Keith Thurman and Errol Spence might have somewhat interest in fighting Jaron Ennis. But guys, with that being said, Jaron Ennis seems to be blasted by Yordenis Ugas for saying Jaron Ennis needs to fight better competition. He doesn't even know who Custio Clayton is, and he just needs to fight somebody at the end of the day. With that being said, guys, it is what it is. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. This is your boy King Jr. I'm out of here. Peace.